In this lesson, we're going to be taking a look at how to actually evaluate logarithms. That is, figure out what number a given logarithm equals. To start with then, I'm bringing you back to the very first thing we did with logarithms, which was switching forms. Where down the left side, we can write each of those exponentials in logarithmic form, and down the right side, we can turn each of those logarithms into an exponential. Now, hopefully you have gotten a good feel recently about how to do that. You've gotten these notes pretty well in mind. Just to kind of give yourself a way to self-check and make sure you're doing well with it, go ahead and just take a moment, pause the video here, and do each of these four. Have it in mind what each one's going to look like, and then press play so you can see the answers. Hopefully, you are able to come up with these as your solutions. And so this idea of just how we rearrange between exponential and logarithmic forms is the foundation for how we can start doing some actual evaluation of logarithms. So we're going to be taking a look at how we can evaluate this particular logarithm as our first example. And do note that we're going to be doing all of this work today without a calculator because there are ways that we can use our calculator. But before we start doing that, I want you to have a really nice fundamental and theoretical idea about why it works the way it does and what it really means. Otherwise, you're just punching numbers in and you won't necessarily see why it is what it is. All right, so the very first thing I want to do in order to be able to figure this out is I'm going to go ahead and rewrite this particular equation into exponential form. So if I do that, the base is always to the power of the exponent, and log always equals the exponent, so it's going to be 9 to the power of x equals 81. Now seeing that, now can you tell me what x equals? 9 to the power of what would equal 81? Well, that would have to be 2. And so x equals 2 here. And in the process, we also get to see a way that we can look at this logarithm here and be able to make sense of it. Because notice that really I could have just looked at that and said 9 to the power of what equals 81. And that really is the way that we're going to end up looking at these logarithms in order to be able to figure out what they equal. Let's go ahead and take a look at another example here. So for each of these, think about, before we do it together, think about how would you figure out what x is? All right, so for that first one, you might be thinking, well, I might first turn into 5 to the power of x equals 25. And then we're saying 5 to the power of what would give us the 25. And it would be 5 squared equals 25. Therefore, x here would also equal 2. For the one next to it here, log base 8 of 8 equals x. Well, that would be 8 to the power of something equals 8. Well, anything to the power of 1 equals itself. Therefore, 8 to the power of 1 equals 8. And so we can figure out those values that way. Now, on each of these so far, we've done it here with the equals x on one side just because it's comfortable. We're used to rewriting them that way. Yet, we don't even need that there. Because remember that what I was able to do with these is rewrite them. So take a look at this first one, log base 2 of 8. This is really saying 2 to the power of what equals 8. These two statements are equivalent. When I know what that exponent in the second line is, then I know what log base 2 of 8 equals. And so 2 to the power of what equals 8? Well, if I start thinking about it, 2 times 2 is 4, times 2 is 8. So notice it took 3 of the 2's to be multiplied together. Therefore, it would equal 3. And notice in this case I did not write x equals 3 because there is no x in the original. So it's just log base 2 of 8 equals 3. And so then, on to our last one that we're going to be doing here in this set of examples. We have log base 4 of 1. So what that really means then is it's saying 4 to the power of what equals 1. And here you do have to remember one particular rule. Anything to the power of 0 equals 1. Therefore, this equals 0. So anything to the power of 0 equals 1. That is a rule that you will need to know. So if that is a bit of a new one for you, make note of that as well. But that's why log base 4 of 1 equals 0. And with that, we're done with these, and you should now go ahead and be able to evaluate logarithms without a calculator on your own now.